Hi, everyone, and welcome to Open Class. Very excited to have Veronika with us. Welcome.
Hello, Daniel. Thank you for having me here.
Anytime, anytime. And for those of you who don't know Veronika, she was a guest in a Talking Insomnia episode where she shared her own journey, and you've been moderating a little bit in the comments section as well.
Yes, I enjoyed it pretty much. Thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, anytime. It's been very, very helpful. So before we start, actually, you are, part of the reason you're here is that you're becoming a sleep coach yourself. You're graduating in about a month or so, and how has the experience been so far?
Oh, great. I've learned so much things. So this is just amazing. And I'm really happy to be a part of the sleep coach school because I've met so many amazing people and it's just really amazing experience. And I definitely recommend who is thinking about becoming a sleep coach. This is a really great opportunity and I think also life changing.
That's amazing to hear. Sorry to put you in the spot. I hadn't
No
told you I was
problem.
going to ask that, but oh yeah. One more thing. I want to say is that for anyone who wants to follow Veronika and get in touch to see what she's doing, I'll leave the link to her Instagram in the description. So with that said, let's jump into ask questions from four people here, and let's see here. I will read the first one, which is from Jaideep. I hope I pronounced that okay. Jaideep says, my insomnia started mid-February, and I'm on the road to recovery, but when I sleep, I experience a lot of REM sleep. Is that normal? I'll let you go first, Veronika. What do you think when you hear this?
Yes, this is absolutely normal. So this REM sleep, this is like this very light stage of sleep, but basically this is kind of sleep which is infused with a lot of hyperarousal. And it's like you say, it's like driving a car with both brake and gas pedal both pushed down. So sleep drive and hyperarousal are both present, and you can have these vivid, bizarre dreams, or it seems like that the time is skipping ahead. So this is very normal and definitely part of the journey. For me, it was really reassuring. I mean, I didn't really feel well after having this kind of sleep, but I was happy about this because I slept. So this is definitely a good sign. And most importantly, if you basically do not respond to this, this experience will just fade with hyperarousal.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you said it so well, and just sort of to clarify for anybody who's listening here that we don't really know, like, is this REM sleep or is it not REM sleep? We don't know, but we call it hyper sleep, and it's like this infused with
Yeah.
hyperarousal. Exactly. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I want to add one more thing, which is I really see this so often as a part of the recovery journey. It's very, very common. So and you had that yourself.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I have it myself, and actually, I have it even now and then.
Yeah.
Even now I'm recovered, and this is perfectly normal. Even today, I slept really bad last night, and I managed to take a nap. And usually I'm not a nap person, but I napped today, but I know it only because the time skipped. So really, this is really very normal.
Yeah, so normal. And just last thing on my that I want to add here is that, just again, to clarify for people, that like when you're super super hyper aroused, you're often awake for long periods of time, and you're clearly awake, no question about it, because you're so hyper. And then when this hyper also starts to fade, it becomes this like in between type of sleep, and then things get easier and easier. So okay, cool, very cool. I think we answered that one quite thoroughly. Let's hope that makes sense, Jaideep, of course, and thanks for sending us the question. Now let's go on to our next question, which is a bit of a longer message from Kyle. Let's read this. Kyle says, "Hi Daniel and Veronika. Do you have any tips on early awakening insomnia and sleep maintenance insomnia? I consistently get 4 to 5 hours because I have to wake up to use the restroom and can't fall back asleep. While searching for tips, I unfortunately came across a study that said sleep restriction typically isn't effective for this type of insomnia. In another article, although I didn't read it, I just saw the title, that said this is the worst type of insomnia. I keep on searching for tips, success stories for early awakening insomnia, but instead I end up coming across horror stories of people waking up 3, 4 a.m. for years after therapy and not getting any better. This has been going on for 3 months now. I'm just super discouraged about my future. Do you have any success stories specifically with early awakening insomnia that you can share, or possibly reasons why CBT-I or other techniques might work to help people with this type of insomnia? I was thinking about trying bedtime restriction, but I'm nervous that my body will become conditioned to waking up at an earlier time if I start waking up to an alarm clock. Also, I just want to thank you for your videos and books. They helped me a lot. So happy to hear that. And there's some really encouraging, like, kind words in the end that I just want to say thanks so much for. But yes, Veronika, lots to talk about here. But when you hear this message from Kyle, what are some thoughts that come to your mind?
So, sleep maintenance insomnia, this happens when we wake up and identify being awake as a threat. So, which is basically a confusion in the safety center of our brains, of course. So, usually when someone has never had problems with sleep, he wouldn't even bother about this experience. He would either immediately fall asleep, or if it even takes longer, it just don't pay any attention to it. But someone who is struggling with sleep or has been struggling in the past, it brings really painful memories of these negative emotions which we had. So it really easily can spiral down into, again, not sleeping. And so basically, the less attention we pay to it, we can get faster over this period. And this sleep maintenance insomnia, I see it as an invitation to befriend wakefulness. And as I was reading this message, I have a really nice example. And this is my mother-in-law. And I know her. I have been knowing her for like more than 10 years, and she always said that she never sleeps through the night, but she never complained. She just said as a statement in the morning. And it was, I don't know, some time ago. I came to her house, and we sat in the living room, and she said, "Veronika, look, can you see it?" And I, "What?" "Everything is so clean and shiny." Like, what? you know, I woke up in the middle of the night and I couldn't sleep, so I started to clean everything. It was so amazing. She was so happy about it, and I really enjoyed the happiness she had about it. And she didn't find it as something unusual. She just woke up in the middle of the night, couldn't back to sleep, so she just started to clean everything. I guarantee you, she will never ever have insomnia in her life. So, yeah,
Exactly. No. And, yeah, absolutely. And I've heard this, and to anybody listening here, I'm not saying that this is easy in any way,
yes,
but I've heard
of
this so
course.
many times when people have something that they truly look forward to, and they're really like, yes, I'm going to read this nice book when I wake up at night. And then they're
Yeah,
like, Daniel, I never get a chance to read that book because I'd stopped waking up at night. And it just
yeah,
shows us that, that's the way the mind works.
yeah, exactly.
Right? And so I think, just to point out one thing, is that I think, and I believe you agree, Veronika, is that when we hear early awakening insomnia or sleep maintenance insomnia, it is really just another way that the fear of being awake presents. For some
Mhm.
people, that fear of being awake, fear of not sleeping, leads to trouble falling asleep. It can lead to trouble staying asleep. It can lead to like jerks and physical. It's just all variations of how we experience being afraid, right? And so, where this to me leads is that, uh, everything we teach on this channel, I think, can help. And as far as success stories, I think almost everyone in the success stories also had sleep maintenance insomnia, right? Like did you have that as well, or what was your story like?
For me, it was like 90%. It was sleep onset insomnia, but also it happened to me several times that I fall asleep and then I woke up in the middle of the night and I couldn't get back to sleep. And really, many insomniacs experience this. That at the beginning they might have sleep onset insomnia, and then it translates into sleep maintenance insomnia, or vice versa. So this is very normal, and basically it comes from the same place, which is the the confusion in the safety center of the brain.
Exactly. And good point. I mean, that's a really helpful point to make, that you can go from one experience to the other. And some people, oftentimes clients are like, oh my gosh, now this is a new thing, but it's just the same thing that shows in a little different way. And now the other sort of question here from Kyle was, is it true, or why is it that, Kyle has come across some information that says that if you have this type of insomnia, then sleep restriction is not going to work, and that has been somewhat discouraging. What do you think when you hear that? Let's say.
Basically, what I wanted to point it out also to this message is that he says that he would like to try the bedtime restriction, but he feels nervous about it. So I think this is a sign, don't do this, because if you feel nervous about it, this is not going to do any good. It is going to create pressure, it is going to create anxiety, which is going to lead into less sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it wasn't specifically said by Kyle, but when Kyle or somebody else says, I'm going to try sleep restriction or bedtime restriction, to me, it tells me of somebody who wants to do this kind of rigid, you know, stay up till 1 o'clock, get up at 6, that rigid thing, which for most people, honestly, is just very stressful and anxiety provoking. And I think on the other hand, like education and understanding is what really, really helps. Kyle, I believe that can help you and so many others. And I thought there was like the final thing here I wanted to comment on was Kyle said, I'm afraid to set an alarm in the morning because I think that could condition myself to like wake up at the same time every morning, or it just conditions myself to wake up. And you may also have some things to add to this, Veronika. But one thing that comes to my mind is that, again, that's just another kind of evidence that someone is afraid of being awake. Like, I'm afraid of being awake because that will wake me up. And then to me, it's just like, just see that there is a fear of being awake in there, and see that when we can sort of learn that being awake is not dangerous, then everything kind of fades away from that. But anything else to add to that one, Veronika?
Yeah, I just maybe thought about like you were saying about the Swiss awakenings, like when you focus really on one particular time at night or in the morning, it's like your internal body clock. They are like kind of get used to this time, and you just naturally wake up for this time. So yeah, so
Yeah,
in
no, that was
this is
really good. That's another thing I forgot about that you bring up here, because Cal said I always wake up like 4 a.m. or something like that, and
yes,
then
yes, exactly.
exactly, it's like, what? How do you know it's 4 a.m.? Maybe don't check the time. That could also really help. So, Cal, I think hope this was helpful to you and anyone else tuning in as well. Of course, let's move to the next one. Next message we have is from Jake. Jake says, "Hi, I've been watching this channel for well over a year now. So far, any sleep issues I've had, this channel has helped me with. Super glad to hear that. Most of my issues have been down to anxiety, unable to fall asleep, and excessive daytime worrying about sleep. I've long since been in a place where sleep hasn't bothered me by practicing the principles taught on this channel. Super glad to hear that as well. Recently, my issue is this. For the last 3 days, I've been waking up around 7 after 4 to 5 hours of sleep. That's not the issue. The problem is when I do wake up, I'm so tired and groggy. I close my eyes and enter something of an in-between sleep and wakefulness state. Without being either of them, I'll be like this for a few hours and then wake up, usually being tired and fatigued all day. I don't know how to proceed. Part of me wants to get a sleep monitoring device and see if I'm actually sleeping after I initially wake up. Part of me wants to practice what I learned on this channel and accept it. Any advice would be helpful." So I think we can conclude that actually, coincidentally, sounds like Jake is experiencing very much what Jaideep was experiencing, that hyper sleep, which we talked about already. So I think we don't need to go into detail there. But I think the two things we can talk about here are like the fogginess and grogginess, as well as this monitoring device idea. So initial thoughts from you, Veronika. What do you think?
My first thought on this were that as he says that he has the problems only for 3 days, and I don't think he has to make any big deal of it, because I see the difference of thinking of an someone who has before problems with sleep, and let's say a normal sleeper. because a normal sleeper wouldn't even bother to focus on this thing. But an insomniac is really, I see this spiraling down into problem solving. So I think that our brain loves to monitor for threat and also the situations that we consider that are not normal. But when we normalize the experience, um, this threat or these unusual situations just falls down from the rudder of our brains, and so in the end effect, again, the less attention we paid, the sooner it gets better.
Yeah, that very, very, very true. And by the time we recorded this, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Jake would say, "Oh yeah, I forgot all about that." It wouldn't surprise me at all. But 100%. And what was I going to say there? Oh yeah, the invitation. It's like you said before. You said like sometimes we have an invitation to befriend wakefulness, right? And now it's almost the opposite invitation here. We see Jake is sort of has an invitation to struggle, like the brain saying like, hey, monitor this, like use this thing, like, and it's like maybe don't take that invitation, right? And so without giving any medical advice here, I should have said this in the beginning, but nothing we say here is medical advice, just general thoughts and comments. Usually what Jake is already seeing, like sort of practicing what has helped in the past, usually that really helps. Which leaves us with this final thing of like, Jake has noticed that when he has this experience for these 3 days, then he was sort of like extra foggy and groggy. And yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, many times this extreme tiredness or fogginess comes basically from this emotional fatigue. One part of it is really when you don't sleep well, you are tired. Your body physically is tired. But many times we end up in this problem solving mode, which brings our much more tiredness and emotional fatigue. And this really can bring even headaches or another bodily manifestations of not feeling well. So again, if we take out the problem solving, I think this is going to help a lot. And if we, as I said, just to normalize this experience. And what else I wanted to comment on was that he was asking about the monitoring device. And I think that when you use this monitoring device, it's like it is not so helpful because it signals the brain that this is a real problem. We have to take care of it. But the sleeplessness in itself is not a problem. It's harmless. But only how we think about it, it just perpetuates this sleeplessness.
Yeah.
So at some point at the beginning of our recovery journey, we want to, or it is helpful to have some regular wake up time, to maybe to have some crutches. But in the end, we just want to get rid of them and live our lives.
Yeah, nothing to add. Nothing to add. Oh, well said. Well said. Okay, let's move to the last one. Ashley says, "Hi Daniel. So I've been following your YouTube channel for a little while, and you give some great insight. Thank you. I'm so happy it made sense. My experience has been super unique, it seems. I went from somniphobia, where I would be up all night with panic attacks, to relaxation anxiety. When I go to practice relaxation exercises, or when my medicines start to make me feel super relaxed, my brain overrides that feeling, and I'm just wide awake with anxiety. This has led to nights of being awake with anxiety. It's almost as if I'm so uncomfortable falling into a relaxed and sleepy place, my brain and body freak out. This is all triggering because it reminds me of past experiences. I'll try to soothe it back down, but then my brain freaks itself out again, lending to more anxiety, almost as if my mind is sabotaging itself. LOL. The later the night progresses, the more anxious I get. I see people who get rest by hours in the morning, but I don't. I have a hard time distracting myself during the night and focus on other things and just relaxing. During the day, I try to keep myself busy and focused, but I feel my body is always rigid, trying to protect me from truly relaxing. I haven't been able to truly get out of my mind and body. Simple things like reading, listening to music, and watching a show have been hard. I have a hard time just being with myself. And then I'll start feeling tired, and my mind automatically reverts back to anxiety. Simple thought of resting or napping or sleeping are such triggers. It's insane because not long ago I was sleeping great. Then one bad night spiraled everything out of control. Now I'm restless at night, anxious. Even with meds, I'm freaked out. Ashley, of course, sorry to hear this, but thanks you for submitting this question. And to sort of maybe focus on something that I think was really central in Ashley's message was this sort of relaxation anxiety, if you will. That when she took some medication, she gets a little sedated, then actually made her anxious, or when she starts feeling relaxed, that made her anxious. Like, what are your thoughts on this, Veronika?
When I read this message first, I really didn't know what to answer to this relaxation anxiety. But then I thought what it really is the underlying cause. And then she basically wrote it herself. I read the sentence. The one bad night spiraled down, everything out of control. And this implies controllability. She wants to control sleep. And this is something that is not possible. So I can see this huge fear, that fear of being awake at night. But as bad as it sounds, this is basically the only cure for insomnia. Just so this is like an invitation to befriend wakefulness, or like to invitation to expose ourselves to our fears, and this is like she can practice the exposure therapy, which are usually normally being practiced in psychology, But yeah, for this exposure therapy for sleeping, it looks like that you purposely expose yourself to situations that cause you those unpleasant feelings and uncomfortable emotions, and you start to experience it into not going into the freak out mode. You just sit with it. You can place your heart, your hand on your heart, and you can feel where the fear is coming from. And then you can start when you sit with it, when you just feel all your bodily sensations, and then your brain is just see like, she has there is a lot of going on in her body and in her mind, and she's not freaking out. Wow, that's something new, that's something interesting, and in this way our brains starts to create new positive relationships between being awake, between being really in this anxiety, and start to make these positive associations. I like to say, or that create new positive memories, because our insomniacs, we experience night by night, even for many years, really bad and negative experiences when we were awake at night. And if you start to have this positive experience, if you start to have these little tiny moments when you feel nice, when you feel comfortable, this is the moment when the insomnia starts to shift, and these are the moments when our brain, when we are teaching this brain that being awake at night is not a threat.
Yes, absolutely well said. And just a little comment on exposure therapy. When somebody's afraid of like spiders or something, then you have to then you sort of like expose yourself to like maybe a picture of a spider, and then eventually maybe a real spider or something like that. But when it comes to insomnia, where like it's not like you can have wakefulness in like a bottle and like look at it, or like it's
Yeah,
almost like in a way it's almost easier because it happens, like it happens all by itself. It's just when it happens, that's the time, that's your opportunity. And I know, again, this is not easy, but so many guests and followers has said that when they start looking at it like that, like, okay, I'm awake now, I'm not sleeping, this is my chance to sort of expose myself to what I've been afraid of, can be really, really helpful.
yeah.
And I think maybe final thing here, I found this message really interesting, and it was like, it forced us to kind of like scratch our heads a little bit, like what's happening. But I think it's not too hard to see what can happen, or what's maybe happening for Ashley here, which is that when, insomnia is often a performance anxiety, right? We really want to sleep, we're trying to sleep, we're hoping to get it, we're excited about it. I hope I can sleep, right? And so when someone like Ashley here starts feeling relaxed, then that can feel good for about a second, but then the thought becomes, I wonder if this relaxation will make me sleep. And then immediately you have performance anxiety, right? So weirdly, like starting to feel relaxed can make you have performance anxiety. It's like, I'm relaxed now, I wonder if I'll sleep. What if I don't? What if I'm relaxed and I don't sleep? So it's not too hard to see how like feeling relaxed actually can become triggering. But again, just like you said, Veronika, like when we stop being scared of being awake, we stop being scared of our emotions or inner experiences, then everything just fades out.
Absolutely.
All right, I think that's any final words?
I don't think so.
Sounds good. And you already have just sharing with our community here that you haven't graduated, but you already got one client.
Yes, I have one client, and I had a second call with her, and it went really well. And she's doing really good. So
Amazing. Amazing. I'm just so happy to hear that. This is magical. All right. Well, we'll conclude there. Thanks so much, Veronika, for being here. And thanks everyone for listening. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.